So good morning, everybody. It is so nice to see you today. Welcome to our very first 2021 Breakfast Club. So we're very excited to have everybody join us this morning, bright and early at 7 a.m. So first, I'd like to go over a couple ground rules, and then I will turn it over to our speakers this morning. First, I'd like to ask that everybody please put your name, your title, your company, and your location in the chat this morning. I know we've got a lot of people joining us from all over the U.S. this morning. I know Lou himself is in California, so it's bright and early for him. And quite a few of us out here.
I would like to welcome our international participant. Lucas just joined us from Brazil.
Good morning, Lucas. Fantastic.
That's great. Thanks for joining us, Lucas. I think you win the distance award.
He does win the distance award today. I see a lot of people from Boston, Brooklyn. Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your time. Okay, so just quick ground rules. Please, we ask that you keep yourself on mute. We do heavily utilize the chat feature. Feel free to ask questions, chat with your colleagues, chat with your peers, and connect and network through our chat feature. Again, when you do speak and come off mute, there will be some opportunities today to do that. We ask that you just state your name and your company when we open for questions and exchanges. That way we can all connect on a professional level as well as a personal level today. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse to kick us off with our speakers.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I feel like most of you know me at this point, but for those that don't, I'm Jesse Knoll. I am a manager of custom content and experiences at Wavemaker, which is an advertising agency in New York City. I'm currently calling in from Brooklyn. I've been here for months. It's been wonderful, working remote for almost a year. It's quite interesting to think about it, and also kind of crazy to think that it's been almost a year at this point. But yeah, I will be today's moderator. We have a really wonderful group of individuals who, have their own small businesses, their own hustles, their own kind of ways of working, and just really are their own boss at the end of the day. And they're really inspiring people. So we really, knowing that we talked about, I believe, 2 weeks ago in Culture Chat, of how to set goals, we thought that today's Breakfast Club could kind of really link to that by talking about how to stay motivated throughout the year. Because, with things like New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, there's research that shows that people normally drop off from them by the middle of February, around Valentine's Day. So we wanted to kind of provide some useful tips and tricks on just how to go about doing that. So we're going to do, just so everyone is aware of how this will work, but we will quickly go through just an overview and kind of talk with each of the speakers today. Then we'll go into breakout groups to have smaller group discussions, and then we'll come back, do a quick mini round robin, and then round out the day with some closing remarks from Linda. So the first person that I would love to talk to today is Julia. So Julia, give us a little bit of an overview of what it is that you do exactly, and then what is one kind of practical tip that you would love to kind of share with the group?
Good morning, everybody. So cool to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So my name is Julia Kirst, and I have a business that has my own name because that is what allows me to be flexible and to pivot according to what the market needs. This is different in the past when I tried other business. So that's one tip I would give you if you're ever creating your own. Think about making that your name so that you can go with the flow as needed. So my topic, the thing that keeps me going is creativity. I want to tell you, step back. What I do is I'm an anthropologist, a cultural anthropologist, and what I do is I help international professionals be understood and valued in the United States. Right now, I'm working mostly with people who are applying for visas called national interest waiver visas. So they need to tell authorities in the US why they're of value for the country. And then dentists that are applying for dental school programs in the US, international dentists. So when the pandemic started, I had already pivoted to being my own boss. I used to be in academia and then started working for myself for a number of reasons that I'd love to discuss at some point if somebody's considering a career in academia. But it ended up being that I live now and I work alone. And that was okay before the pandemic, because I could go out, I could meet people, and then I come to my office. And now, it's a completely different situation in that I am the only one who makes myself get up in the morning and do what needs to be done. It's a very different situation. I don't have a client waiting for me in a meeting room. In fact, I realized recently that for the last 2.5 years, I've made a living with this without ever having met somebody in person. Okay, I'm not a boss. Like I was working for a law firm. I worked for her for 2 years. Never met her in person. Not a client. Okay. So the level of my business is me is unprecedented, right? This is not something that are even 2 years ago, this would not have happened, right? So that requires the hustle. That requires you to be able to get in the morning and do what you need to do, especially if you're living alone. If you're, I don't have a husband, Linda sent me to a financial advisor who said, nobody's going to take care of you. So you have to do what you have to do to take care of yourself, right? So how do I keep that going? Is creativity. And I don't mean creativity in the sense of, are you good at painting, writing poetry? We have this idea that creativity is for other people. But if you look at a child, think of a child getting to a beach, seeing the sand, and this child starts building something. We all have that ability of creating something out of nothing. That's what I call creativity. So the question is, where do you have an open field and there's nothing there and you can create something out of what's there? We have lots of situations in our lives where that's the case. So what makes me wake up in the morning and want to keep going is, what can I build today that's different from what I had yesterday? What can I change? What can I create and implement? So as I was preparing for this, I thought, what does that look like? For example, is there a client, a potential client that you have not talked to? Reach out, see how they're doing. Is there somebody you already worked with, but you remember? In my case, I remember somebody's going to do take a big exam in the US on the 1st of February and on the 5th. I'm going to be checking in with her. So I'm creating a relationship there. Is there a new product that I'm hearing people talk about and that they might need? Is there a new service? Sometimes I get an email, and inside that email was hidden a quick phrase that says, do you also do this for people in another in an X profession? Oh, I could just let that go and not answer, or I could let my creativity pick it up, put it down on paper, and as soon as I have a minute, follow up on that new possibility. To me, creativity is what keeps you engaged with the world. Instead of you being overpowered by all the shit that's going on out there, right? Instead of just being frozen and disengaged, because sometimes it is easier to disengage, absolutely. But creativity is what keeps you in the moment, keeps you paying attention, and at least for me, it keeps me going. And I think for any of us, there is space for finding pieces that were not created yet, and how can I get in there and make that happen? It can even be a relationship with a neighbor. You know, I understood that. There's a woman with 3 little kids at home alone right now through the pandemic. So when I need a break from my work, I go over there for half an hour, and it's good for me. It's good for the kids. It's good for the mom. You know, so we're surrounded by possibilities of engaging in ways that we're not made. They're not ready for us. Ways that we can create.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. I mean, I totally, believe that, like, with this pandemic, everyone has had to rethink of everything. And I mean, even, Carol, before we got started, you were talking about how you had to get creative with interviewing and how the world of interviewing has completely shifted. So it's interesting to see just how the whole world has transformed, and now kind of the things that we knew aren't necessarily the way of the future. And so now we're all having to kind of rejigger our ways of thinking. So that's a great answer, Julia. And I'm really glad that we kind of talked about creativity first, because I think that is a really key topic to think about, and we could probably spend all day on it. But the next person I want to call on is Kirst. So I would love to kind of hear from you. And I know that, you were talking right before this that you haven't had to like use your resume in years. So I would love to kind of hear just a little bit about you, and then, what is your tip for the group?
There we go. Yeah, well, thank you, Jesse. I'm very happy to be here. Happy to be asked to talk with everybody. So I'm Kirst Johnson. Basically, people hire me to make videos. That's my thing. I've been doing that since I was a teenager, pretty much. I've been self-employed almost my entire adult life. My business, the official corporation, turns 10 this year in 2021. So yeah, there's something to like, there's plenty of ups and downs along the way. And it's like, every once in a while, it's like, oh man, this is never going to work. I'm banging my head against the wall. Like, how am I going to pay the bills, in a couple of months or something, like, and then what it feels like, you blink and, oh, it's like, wait, a year went by and I'm still here and I'm paying the bills, and okay. And I just, bought something nice and everything's okay. And it's like, so I think in a big way, there's something major to be said about just time. Like, you can't be too impatient. Like, you have to you can't expect like overnight success with any one thing. Like, oh, I got an idea for, a business or for something. And it's like, it's not just going to immediately happen. It's really, it's a drawn out process, and overnight success, is more like, I don't know, 15 years. Like, there's nothing really, really overnight. You can see, what my business does. Like, you can see the whole, professional spiel on my website, cesolutions.tv. But, I've done a wide range of work. It's all up there. But, for something like today, I'd love to, as we go on, especially in the breakout rooms, I'd love to hear questions that everyone else might have about entrepreneurship in general, just sticking with it, weathering the storm, balancing creativity with business, because they're related, but they're certainly, different. And like, some days I'm only concerned about numbers and like leads, and I'm like a sales guy, and I practically have like the little green visor on, and I'm like, I need, we need leads, we need to drive, drive business. And then other days I'm like, who cares about money? Like, I want to make this really cool, imagery over here. And it's a ping pong. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, there's times I have to be really frugal. There's times a lot of the hustle is I know Julia was talking about creativity, and my kind of what I chose to focus on today is perseverance. And a lot of that is just like understanding that you have to keep showing up, you know, when others might not. And it's like, you have to really find, you know, simply showing up and almost outlasting people. Not that it's like, you know, some big competition, but it's like a lot of people might have a big idea, but if you're the one who keeps doing it every day, you know, keeps chasing something every day, like over time, that's going to pay off tremendously. Yeah, I wish I could I agree with, I just want to compliment Julia. I agree with everything she said. And I'm, you know, there's a lot of creativity that goes into what I do also. So that's, yeah, it's really nice to hear those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I think, and I mean, I feel like, just so everyone is aware, like while each of our speakers is picking one topic to kind of cover today, these all work in conjunction. So, you know, you need to have creativity to build things out of, you know, nothing, or just kind of rethinking your ways of working. But also that takes a little bit of perseverance as well. What that also takes is a little bit of productivity. So nice segue to kind of talk with John, who has a whole mountain of boxes behind him. So would love to kind of talk with you. You know, I think a lot of us know what BLENDi is, but, you know, give us a quick overview. And, you know, I think what's really intriguing with you is that you have a small business, but then you also have a full-time job. So how do you find, you know, the ability to kind of do both of those things and, you know, keep yourself balanced?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. And great job to Chris and Julia as well. This is awesome. And it's tough to follow up. So if I can say, I'll segue into my tips. But basically yesterday, to give everybody an example of my life, I was able to make 50 cold calls for financial advising. I've gotten 2 meetings the last 2 days, so it's been actually very good. It's been on the up for me. But then 11:30, the UPS guy comes, buzzes me like 5 different times, and I just see boxes all in my like breezeway, I guess, of the apartment building. And he's like, dude, my back hurts. I can't, like, I gotta work till 9. I was like, all right, I'll help you. So next thing I know, I'm doing his whole job. It lasts till 12:50. I cut myself off because I legit have a financial meeting with a guy at 1 o'clock. So then I go from 1 o'clock, then I get the rest of the boxes. Then I do the rest of my cold calls. Then at 3:30, I ship out to UPS and all of that, right? So then I get back by maybe 4 something. Then I got to call a couple people. Then I called boutique store owners for sales, cold calling, like Lou and I both know very well. And cold called a bunch of more people. And then I got some more interested boutique store owners, and that's the day. And then it continues even more to the night. But productivity is basically that whole day, right? Nonstop, just going. And one of the best ways that I'm able to do so is and it's just kind of second nature, is just to create that list, that checklist of what I have to do today to be effective, and even time blocking more so. As an entrepreneur, I kind of like having my day not necessarily up in the air, but I like having free will to do what I want on the hour. But there are certain times where I have to time block, and cold calling is probably one of those as well, as there's definitely better times to cold call. But time blocking, I highly recommend if you have a lot going on, and it helps you be very effective. Another thing I've recently just done, is I deleted the Instagram app, I deleted Twitter, and I deleted Snapchat completely. And so now the only time I really go on Instagram is to either respond to messages or to download it to then post and then delete it again. And I've found that helps a ton with being productive, and efficient is the better word with my time. Because as we all know, we can time block for 30 minutes to do something, but next thing you know, we're on our phone scrolling for however long, right? And it's just to try and get rid of those distractions as much as possible. And then I was showing Julia this the other day, and she made a remark on studying this, but I also have like a win and loss tracker. It's basically if I got everything done that day, it's a win for me. And I have like a stock chart basically of my personal growth. And I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to like trying to get everything done because it's so important to me. But I cannot lie. There are days in which I feel not motivated. I feel, whatever. But the suggestion I have on those days is to just do one thing for your business or for your job or whatever, and just try and get through it and just understand that we all have peaks and valleys, and my productivity is not always 100% every day, and I would never pretend like it ever will be, but to just have that steadiness and persistence and perseverance, like Chris suggested, is one of the best things that I can say.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you ended with that tip of, just getting at least one thing done, because I think we all, think of productivity as, filling every single second of the day. And while that's, totally fine, some days, there are some days you're going to wake up and it's like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I'm just
Yeah.
tired. I'm over this, especially in the pandemic world. Like it's challenging. So hearing, someone say, you know what, if I got one thing on my to-do list done today, that's a successful day. We've
Yeah.
made progress. And I think that that's important for all of us because, there needs to be that balance. It's good to have those gung-ho, like push forward and get everything on your to-do list done days. But then there's some days where, if you get one thing done, it's still a good day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Plus, I would say try and find motivating factors in your life to get you through it. Those dark times, sometimes you got to really find something to dig deep down inside you. And if it's a YouTube video about some motivational thing, hey, you know what? So be it. My motivation right now is getting all these goddamn boxes out of my room. So it's a never ending reminder every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that, John. So our last speaker today is calling in from the West Coast, so it is bright and early for him. But Lou, would love to hear from you. We know Big Ass Jogger a little bit, but talk about it, and then what is your one thing that you want everyone to know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, first off, Christian, John, and Julia, you guys were amazing. And I hope I don't botch this coming after you guys. And I hope I can give a little bit more insight and give some insight as much as you guys have. But for those who don't know me, my name is Lou Alexander. I'm actually a Syracuse grad alumni as well. And I live out on the West Coast, my wife and my son, 2-year-old son. And full-time, I am a director of sales. So I work in technology as a director of sales, where I oversee 14 sales individuals on a daily basis. And so this will all kind of make sense as I'm flowing into what my tip of the day is. I started a company named Big Ass Joggers during the pandemic. And the way that Big Ass Joggers basically came to fruition was, I was literally stuck at home. And I was trying to understand exactly, what will give me that rush that I used to have when I played football, right? I used to play football and I was not getting that fulfilling rush that I used to have, that when I used to run out to the stadium and I had 60,000 people screaming my name, I didn't have something I could hold on to my core to. So I really wanted to create something that was proprietary to me, but also that can push and inspire people. And I'll talk about this a little more as well, but how are you connecting people to your story? So I was 340 pounds when I started, 340 pounds last 2 years ago. And I was out running one day and I was like, wow, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people my size that they struggle with this. They're challenged with getting out and they feel like that they can't run, without someone actually judging them. So I created this movement around, being your biggest self at whatever you do. And I came up with the name Big Ass Joggers. And the tip I want to give, today is courageous, right? Having courage. And I think sometimes we think of courage two different ways. We think of courage as not having a plan and going out and just being courageous and doing whatever we need to do, and we'll learn in the process. But on my end, I think of courage as actually having a plan and understanding how I'm going to go through the process to be able to be courageous and also show value in whatever process that I'm going through. And, you know, it took a lot of courage for me to start my own business. I didn't know how to start my own business. You know, all I knew was I can motivate people. I understood exactly how I can manage people on a daily basis, but I was never an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I really took into consideration was just stepping out on a limb and asking those questions and being encouraged and having that grit and that tenacity to really get a firm grip on exactly what is it that I was trying to achieve. And, you know, I had to take out the judgment. I had to take out all the insecurities that were deeply in me. And I just had to start. And once I just started, you know, that takes more courage than anything because you're playing in a sandbox that you've never played before. And tech was my sole thing that I've been able to accustom over the last 8 years. But now I'm stepping into something where I have to understand my fulfillment center. I have to understand exactly how many products I'm getting out on a daily basis. I have to understand my KPIs. I have to understand all these different things in my business that makes my business, but also I'm talking to suppliers on a daily basis. And that takes a lot of courage because they're speaking a certain vernacular that maybe I don't resonate with at the time. And I have to learn that. I have to learn the difference between materials that I'm doing, right? So I'm saying all this to say is that don't let your mindset or that mental barrier stop you in this position from acting in courage. We all have great ideas, right? We all have these great things that we want to bring to fruition, but we have that barrier in our mindset and we're not courageous enough to really step out on a limb and try it. So if I'm telling you, if I can do it, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people on this call that can really go out there and be courageous and really build their dream, because I'm building it on a daily basis. So that's my tip. I definitely got a couple more to add to it, but yeah, that's my tip I wanted to tackle.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think your tip really leads to the rest of the tips. Having courage is necessary to be creative, to be productive, and to persevere.